Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Erev Shabbos, Parashas Ki Seitzei. And Ki Seitzei is a packed parsha. And a lot of mitzvahs, a lot of things going on in the parsha. What I love doing the most is taking a segment of the parsha that appears to be not so relevant, a segment of the parsha that's written in a kind of, from our perspective, like a weird details and facts that we can't really relate to, and we don't know what to do with it really. And in this case, it's going to be just a halacha. It seems not to be relevant today. But in every pasuk, in every parsha, in every word, in every kutzoi shel yud in the Torah, there are many, many important, relevant lessons to be learned. One just has to know how to access them. So the parsha starts off with Eishes Tefas Torah, with the famous Maisa, with the war bride, and then right away we get into this very interesting ordeal, and the pasuk says as follows: a person has two wives, midaraisa, a man is allowed to marry two women. So he has two wives, but here's the twist: ha'achas ahuva, ha'achas snua. One of them is loved, and one of them is not loved. It's hated, actually. Snua is hated. Okay? The loved one and the hated one each give birth to a boy. Says the pasuk, the firstborn is the one from the wife that is hated. It's weird. He hates the wife. He loves the wife. He shouldn't hate people. Right? Okay? Now here comes the halacha. Until now was the setup. That's the story, right? The day comes now that he's going to give out the inheritance. Some of Farshim say he's on his deathbed, or maybe he's fine, he's writing his will. Whatever he has, he's going to give over to his children. Lo yuchal levaker es ben ha'ahuva al pnei ben hasnua ha'bachor. A halacha in the Torah that a person is not allowed to give preferential treatment to the ben ahuva, to the son of the loved woman, over the son of the hated woman. We all know, the halacha is, a person has two sons, a bechor, a firstborn, and a secondborn. The firstborn gets twice as much as the secondborn. That means the firstborn gets 66.6% of the estate, and the secondborn gets 33.3%. If he has three sons, the firstborn gets 50%, and each other son gets 25%. That's the way it works in the Torah. The bechor gets pishnayim. So here, where the bechor is the ben hasnua, is from the hated wife, and the secondborn is from the loved wife, there might be a yetzer hara. The father, the husband, might want to give the pishnayim, the twofold, to the ben ahuva, to the second son. Says the Torah, it's not fair, you shouldn't do that, you must give it to the ben ahuva. Okay. The Hemek Dover, the Netziv of Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, Zecher Tzadik Devracha, in his commentary on the Chumash Hemek Dover, he asked the following question: why does the Torah say ha'achas ahuva, the one is loved, the ha'achas snua, and the one is hated? It should have said va'achas snua. Ha'achas, the one is loved, va'achas snua, and the second one is hated. Why is there it's called a hey hayidiyah in Chachmas Hadiktuk. Why is there another hey say that it's kind of like emphasized that she's a separate person? There's ha'achas, the one who's loved, and the one who's hated. Say, the one is loved and one is hated. Why is there another emphasis on the second one? That's the Nitziv's question. That's his question. Zok the Nitziv, it's coming to teach us that this man did not marry both women at the same time. He married the Ahuva first, and then he married the Snua. Ha'achas Ahuva, there's the one that he loves, and then there's the one that he doesn't love, that he hates. And she's a separate one. So he married the first one first and the second one second. He married Miriam first and Esther second. That's what the pasuk is coming to tell us. Okay? And he goes on to say that the case actually is, so if that's the case, if you married the loved one first, it's possible, but what does it mean that the second one gave birth to the bechor first? B'derech klal, a person conceives soon after they get married. So he says that the case is that the ahuva conceived first. His first wife that he loves became pregnant first. And the second one, the snua, gave birth first. So maybe the first one was a 9.5-month pregnancy, and the second was a 7.5-month pregnancy. So even though the Ahuva had the Bechor for the conception, but the Snua is the one who ended up giving birth first, and we go after the Leda. Parenthetically, there's a big tumult. There's a Shmua. They say from the Vilna Gaon, from the Grod, he said the opposite. The Netziv says, he writes here, it's Sheker Idu B'Shmoi. That testimony that the Grod said that is false, it's not true. In Halacha, we go after who was born first. Right? So Esav was born first. He was the Bechor. He lost it, but he was the Bechor. Here, whoever was born first is the Bechor. Okay. Then the Netziv makes a second diuk in the pasuk. It says, "V'yogu leibonim ha'ahuva asnu," and each gave birth to a boy. V'hoya ha'ben ha'bechor la sini'ah. The ben ha'bechor belongs to the sni'ah. It should have said the sinu'ah, the one who's hated. Why did the u turn into an e? Why did it go from snu'ah to sni'ah? Zok the Netziv. It doesn't say snu'ah. Why did it say sni'ah? So it says it's mashma she'ena snu'ah mitzad atzma. She's not hated because she's like a bad person, she has bad midas. Ela harishoyne hisniya al bayra. Rather, the first wife made her hated by her husband. The first wife caused the husband to hate the second wife. Mishum sheba'a bigvula. Since the second wife came into the boundary, she infringed upon the territory, so to speak, of the first wife. Miriam was married to him first, and it was her husband. All of a sudden, this Esther comes and is taking her husband away. She resents that, and therefore, she conjured up stories. She did whatever she could to make sure that her husband is going to hate the second wife. Here comes the punchline. What's the result of such an action? Mishum hachi ba avoina v'haya habena b'chor l'snir. Because she did that, because Miriam, the Ahuva, I'm just making up names, the Ahuva made the Snua hated by the husband, therefore Kadosh Baruch Hu gave the Bechor to the Snir. The Musar Haskell is in life, often we feel that someone did something wrong to me, or we feel that I'd rather have this person not involved. And we might do something to discredit them, but who runs the world? It's not me and it's not you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. And if I try to do something that's underhanded, it's the come back to haunt me. It's going to come back to haunt me. The Ahuva tried to secure her position as numero uno with her husband, and what happened? Fakir, the Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, organized that the second one now is going to have the Bechor. This all comes from Bitachon. We mentioned this Chiddush the other night in the Orchois Tzadikim Shir. We're learning about the midah of kas, of anger, and it's clear from there that kas, anger, gaiva, arrogance, simcha, contentment, all come from bitachon or lack thereof. A person who has faith in Hashem will not get angry. He'll be content. Worry, a person who doesn't have bitachon Hashem, only he has worry. A person sees someone else getting involved and feels they shouldn't be there. If one has bitachon, and it's hard sometimes, but if one has bitachon, one realizes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent this person. No one can affect my parnasa, no one can affect my shalom bayis except for myself. I do my job. I keep Torah and mitzvahs. I do my best. Hashem will take care of me. That this person is involved, that my husband married a second wife. That's all hashgachas Hashem. So there's a musig of hishtadlus. There's a concept of doing what you have to do to secure your position, but underhandedness is not the way to do it. That's kind of saying that, Hashem doesn't really know how to run the world properly, so I have to resort to these underhanded methods. That's awesome. And if that happens, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make sure, he'll see to it that it comes back at the person, and the person is not going to get it. That's lesson number one from this otherwise esoteric parsha of the Ahuva and the Snua. Lesson number two from the Sfornoi. So when the pasuk says that you have to give the Bechor, the Pishnayim, to the Ben HaSnua, says the Sfornoi, Lo yavir ha-Bechor min ha-Ben b'shvil sinas zu or ahavas zu. The Bechorah, giving the firstborn, giving that the inheritance really, is between the father and his sons. And the Sforno is saying that the Pasuk is warning us, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is warning us, don't give the Pishnaim, don't give the twofold inheritance to one son over the other because the father hates the mother or loves the mother. However, if the father sees that his bechor, his firstborn, is an evil person, then he's allowed to do that. And he quotes Gemara Bava Basra to support that. Often in life, we have relationships and all intertwined, and it's complicated. And there could be one person of a group that I have an issue with, and therefore I paint everyone with the same brush. I paint everyone in that group with the same brush. This person has a wife that he loves and a wife that he hates. Now, what he gives to the children should be based on their own merit. It should not be based on the parents. It should not be based on the mothers. One has to, what I call, compartmentalize. One has to be able, use his seichel, not just be pushed by his emotions. That I hate this person, so therefore I'm going to take it out on the child. I'm going to take it out on the guy's best friend. One has to compartmentalize and realize I have an issue with this person, but why should that affect another person who's in that group? That's the lesson of the Ben Ahuva and the Ben Snuah, of not being able to give the Bechor to the Ben Ahuva. We have to make sure that in our dealings with people, we keep it very objective, and we don't let issues we've had with other people in that place, in that kehillah, in that family, flavor our approach to someone who's not really involved in the issue that we had. So these are the two lessons I want to bring out from this parasha, this segment of the parasha, which is kind of, we don't marry two women today and to love and to hate and before. Like, what's the relevance? There's relevance in every single line, every word, every kutzel shel yud of the Torah. There's relevance. So these are the two chidushim I wanted to share with you today. One is the Nitziv's idea of be careful before a person starts using underhanded methods to get what they want. Realize that is a lack of bitachon. Hashem runs the world, and a person should sit back, relax, and watch Hashem take control after, of course, they have done the proper ishtadlus. And the second nakuda is this compartmentalization, where a person is meant to make sure that we're dealing with each person that they're dealing with in the appropriate manner. And with this, we should be zoiche to have a wonderful Shabbos, wishing everyone a healthy Shabbos and a safe Shabbos, and a gewaldige Shabbos, kol tov.